When Into the Spider-Verse won the Oscar in 2018, it broke the animation industry. It forced every major studio to completely rebuild how they make movies just to catch up. A sequel to a film that changed everything can't outrun the original. You go somewhere the first one never went. Across the Spider-Verse is a 2-hour argument against 60 years of superhero tradition. It has one question at its center. What happens when a system decides your existence is a mistake? Hey, I'm Mac, welcome back to Mac and Flicks. A few days ago, I put up a poll asking what video I should make next, and this won by a massive margin. Which is perfect, because while I was writing this, new images from Beyond the Spider-Verse dropped. The visuals they've revealed have me thinking it's going to do something very different from what any of us expect. So before that movie drops, the second film deserves the full breakdown. It's one of the most defiant pieces of media I've ever seen. The Spider-Verse films are some of my favorite movies ever. On any given day, I cannot decide which one I like more. It changes all the time. Some days, it's the first one. The leap of faith, Miles finally animating on ones. That moment where everything the film built for 90 minutes lands in a single image. On those days, nothing touches it. Other days, I think about the train sequence at the end of Across. Miles realizing where he is, the Prowler standing in front of him, Gwen assembling her team, and I go completely quiet in a way that's hard to explain. These films are some of the best pieces of media I've ever seen, and I've already talked about how much I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite Marvel character. So going into the second film, I was extremely excited. But when I actually watched it in the theater, it felt like something completely new. Something I hadn't experienced before. The moment it ended, I only had one thought. I just wanted the third movie to come out. Right then. Even now, Beyond remains my most anticipated movie. So the fact that images just dropped makes this the perfect time to dig into what made the second one so special. In my first video on Into the Spider-Verse, I said that every technical decision in that film was a story decision. The animation on twos, the smear frames, the halftone dots. All of it built around Miles' internal state. His wrongness was in the software. The clumsiness came from the math itself. When he finally committed to the leap of faith, everything changed. A mathematics problem with an emotional answer. Across takes that same idea and points it at a harder question. Whether certain losses are so fixed that a system could be justified in forcing you to go through them whether you want to or not.
What am I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Every studio that watched Spider-Verse win the Oscar tried to copy The Surface. Sony had a different problem. They had to make a sequel. You cannot top a leap of faith. So instead, they used the same philosophy on a story about what happens when a system decides you specifically don't get to be Spider-Man. Miles' answer to that is the whole film. The film doesn't open with Miles. 20 minutes pass before he appears at all. An entire short film dedicated to Gwen Stacy before the main character shows up even once. This is Miles' franchise. Giving that opening to someone else is a statement. Gwen's universe looks like a watercolor painting that keeps bleeding. When she feels connected to her father, the world goes warm, orange and yellow bleeding into the frame. When fear takes over, the colors drain to cold blue and the backgrounds start dissolving. She doesn't get a voiceover explaining how she feels. The environment is how she feels. And that's not a visual style. The production team at Sony Pictures Imageworks rebuilt their entire rendering pipeline to create Earth-65. They developed specific tools, Brush Bomber, Patchy Bomby, and integrated a paint simulator called Rebel.
Discovered this really cool application called Rebel, and Rebel has this ability to simulate watercolor,
which models the actual physics of wet-on-wet watercolor bleeding and ink absorption in real time. The final render runs 45 layers of dynamic brushstrokes, responding directly to Gwen's emotional state as each scene plays out. Her psychology is the weather system of her universe. Part 1 built clumsiness into Miles' software. This film builds grief into Gwen's atmosphere. Same idea, completely different scale. And she is very afraid. Her universe's Peter Parker is dead. She accidentally caused it. Her father, Police Captain George Stacy, has been hunting Spider-Woman for months without knowing it's his own daughter. When he finally corners her and draws his weapon, the world behind her drains so fast and so completely, the screen looks like it's showing you the inside of her chest. The film isn't quiet about what that scene is actually doing. When she looks at her father with his weapon raised and asks,
"Anything you say can and will
Dad,
be
are
used
you
against
really
you in a
this
court of
afraid of
law."
me?
That's a question about conditional love. The sci-fi framing falls away completely. What's left is a kid asking a parent whether who they are is enough. The spider society she flees to tells her the same answer in a different language. She's welcome there, but only while she follows Miguel's rules, suppresses what she feels, and stays useful. A found family that requires you to be smaller isn't actually safe. Her father choosing to quit the police force is two things at once.
Then arrest me, Dad. Get it over with.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I quit.
A Canon event canceled, we'll get to what that means, and a parent choosing his child over the institution that told him what his daughter was supposed to be. The film pays off both on the same beat. Miles ends the movie with everything unresolved. Gwen gets a real conclusion. She opens the film in exile, doing whatever Miguel's system requires just to keep her place in it. She closes it having returned to Earth 65, reconciled with her father, and assembled her own team to go defy Miguel and find Miles. Everything she's been carrying, her father pointing a weapon at her, months of surviving by following rules she doesn't believe in, it resolves before the credits. She chose her own judgment over Miguel's mandate. Her universe didn't collapse. You accept Miles not getting his resolution because Gwen already answered the question the film was asking. The canon can be defied. The system can be wrong. The argument is done even though the story isn't. Daniel Pemberton's score in that final sequence does the same work. The Prowler's theme, the one that used to belong to Uncle Aaron, shifts to a higher register for Miles. Quietly. No announcement. The film is telling you this version of the story is going to be different from the one that cost Miles his uncle. How different is the first question Beyond has to answer? Across the Spider-Verse has a specific villain in mind. A tradition, 60 years old. A beloved uncle figure dies. A police captain close to them dies. These are the fixed points holding each Spider-Man's universe together. Disrupt them and reality collapses. Miguel has data. He watched it happen. He calls them canon events. And Miles's father, Jefferson Davis, newly promoted captain, is next on the list. 2 days. Miguel believes every word of this. From his perspective, enforcing canon events is mercy. Living with the math so nobody else has to watch their universe fall apart. His logic is built on something real. He watched it happen. He has the data. He caused it himself once. We'll get to that. If you've seen my No Way Home video, you'll know I talked about how every Spider-Man story that actually works is built on loss. Permanent, irreversible loss. Uncle Ben. The dead parental figure. The guilt that turns Peter's power into something he has to live up to. The MCU skipped all of that with Tom Holland's Peter, and the films suffered for it. No Way Home was the film that finally supplied that origin story 3 movies late.
You have power, and with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Across takes that same idea one step further, and asks who decided Spider-Man had to suffer that way, and whether they actually had the right to make that call. Canon events are Marvel editorial policy turned into in-universe physics. For 60 years, Spider-Man comics have run on one assumption. The character only works when he's suffering specific, recurring losses. His uncle has to die. A police captain has to die. A first love has to die. If Spider-Man achieves lasting happiness, editorial boards intervene. The most infamous example is One More Day. Peter Parker trades his marriage to save his aunt because executives decided a happy, married Spider-Man was unrelatable. The suffering was a mandate from above. Lord and Miller took that mandate and gave it a face. Miguel O'Hara is 60 years of that logic as a person. He turned a corporate policy into a law of physics and hired hundreds of spider variants to police it. 60 years of editorial tradition said this character's suffering was what made him worth caring about. Miles refusing it is the film saying that's wrong. Miles is the one who actually names what Miguel's system runs on. In the middle of the Canon Events presentation, he pushes back.
We're just supposed to let people die because some algorithm says that that's supposed to happen?
Studios run predictive models to decide which stories to tell, which risks to cut, which elements audiences have historically responded to. Miguel's system is the same thing with a different name. And then on Earth 65, Gwen's father, George Stacy, supposed to die saving a child, his assigned canon event, quits the police force instead. He chooses his daughter. His universe doesn't collapse. Miguel's system is built on a trauma that was specific to him. One police captain already proved the canon isn't fixed. The film doesn't make a speech about it, it just shows you and keeps moving. The film introduces its other antagonist early. Very early. Long before Miguel. The Spot arrives as a joke. A pale, faceless void covered in interdimensional holes, stumbling over his own feet, demanding Miles take him seriously as a nemesis. Miles dismisses him in under a minute and moves on. Good. So does the audience. Both of them are trying to prove they belong in a role that nobody wants to give them. Miles needs the Spider Society to see him as a legitimate hero. The Spot needs Miles to see him as a legitimate villain. The film builds this parallel quietly across the entire runtime, then pays it off once you've stopped looking for it. His visual design makes the connection literal. The animation team didn't give him a face. He's built from construction lines, white gouache paint, and spilled ink. An unfinished sketch. An empty page. The same blank page Miss Weber places in front of Miles in the counselor's office to represent his undefined future. The film puts these two images in front of you within the first 30 minutes and trusts you to hold them together. What fills that page determines everything. As the Spot absorbs dark matter from multiversal colliders across dimensions, his design evolves. The construction lines disappear. The unfinished white space fills with flowing black ink. His final form is rendered in the style of artist Sergio Topi, all dense cross-hatching and ominous negative space. He stopped being a rough draft. He became something complete and permanent. The difference between him and Miles is what they chose to put on the blank page. Miles kept showing up even when the system said he had no right to. The Spot chose resentment. He blamed Miles for everything he lost and let that fill the whole space until there was nothing else. By the time the Spot becomes a genuine cosmic threat, you've already seen the shape of it. Empty things will find something to fill the void. The question is always what. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this breakdown, please hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. Miguel watched a universe collapse because he disrupted the canon. He knows what that math looks like when reality comes apart, because he's the one who caused it. He found an alternate dimension where a version of himself had died, but left behind a family, a daughter, a stable life, everything his own dystopian Earth 928 never gave him. So he slipped into that reality, told them he was their Miguel, claimed the family, built a life in a universe that was never his. When it collapsed, he lost all of it. The family he'd borrowed, and billions of other people along with them. The Spider Society is insurance. He built it out of the terror of someone who has watched that happen because of a choice they made. Every canon event he enforces is a guarantee against living through it twice. Watch the film from his angle, and he's the tragic hero making the hard call because someone has to. That reading is available. The film leaves it open. His logic breaks in a specific place though. Miguel was the anomaly. He was the one who wasn't supposed to be in that dimension. He inserted himself into someone else's reality, claimed a life that wasn't his, and watched everything collapse because of him. Then he built an entire system that calls Miles the original anomaly. The mistake.
What thing?
What do you mean, what thing? The information, explain anything.
The disruption that started everything going wrong. He is describing himself. The film just puts the two stories next to each other. Miles was bitten by the wrong spider through pure circumstance. Miguel chose to take a life that wasn't his. One is an accident. The other is a decision. Miguel built a system that treats them as the same thing. The chase through Spider Society headquarters plays out that gap. Miguel is fast, aggressive, heavy. His animation has none of the acrobatic joy you see in Miles or Gwen. He climbs walls with claws, and his movement reads more like a predator than a hero. Miles runs because he's already decided. Miguel chases because he cannot afford to be wrong. Before Miguel ever tells Miles he was never supposed to exist, his mother tells him something on a rooftop in Brooklyn. Rio Morales.
Wherever you go from here, you have to promise to take care of that little boy for me. Make sure he never forgets where he came from. He never doubts that he is loved. And he never lets anyone at those big fancy places he's gonna be in tell him that he doesn't belong there.
I didn't catch the weight of that first time. It looks like a family scene, warm, easy to let wash over you. But it's working the same way the shoelace worked in part 1. A moment that looks like texture, but is actually armor. When Miguel stands in front of Miles and tells him he's an anomaly, a statistical mistake, the wrong Spider-Man in the wrong universe, Miles already has the answer. The spider that bit Miles wasn't from his universe. It fell through a dimensional breach from another world, one where that spider was always supposed to stay. Miles was never meant to be bitten, and because he was, his universe's Peter Parker died saving him during the Collider fight. If Miles had never been bitten, Peter would have reached the Collider in time. Spot wouldn't exist. None of this would have happened. Miguel reads this as obliteration. Miles is a mistake. He took a destiny that belonged to someone else. His existence cost a man his life. Miles takes the same facts and finds a different answer. If no spider was ever supposed to bite him, then Spider-Man is entirely his own choice. No inheritance, no destiny someone handed down. He just chose this. Every single day since that basement, he's chosen it. I'm Spider-Man, and no one can take that away from me. That's the realization that the choice was always all there was. The setup for this happens 20 minutes into the film.
Can't have your cake and eat it too.
Miles answers without thinking.
Unless she baked 2 cakes.
Miles?
The film tests this immediately. Miles carries 2 actual cakes to his father's promotion barbecue while fighting the spot. The cakes get destroyed. When the box falls open, the only words still readable on the frosting are, "I'm not proud." That's the film's thesis. The attempt costs something real. You make it anyway. Every piece of the film has been building toward the moment Miguel presents the trolley problem. One life to save billions. Clean math. Miles refuses the tracks entirely, because he's been baking 2 cakes since minute 1, and he knows the math is a lie. Every spider person who survived defying the system, every universe that didn't collapse when someone changed the script, is the film proving him right before he says a word. Gwen's father quitting the Force, the Witch of East passing her Canon Event without the universe folding. The whole second act is the film assembling its argument, and Miles is the one who names it out loud. Miguel offers certainty. Miles offers stubbornness. The film knows which one is actually braver. Part 1 broke animation's pipeline on purpose, built Miles' clumsiness into the software, made every technical choice carry the character's internal state. Across the Spider-Verse scales that into an entire multiverse. Every dimension in this film is an argument. Each one has its own pipeline, its own physics, its own relationship to time, its own position on what animation is and what it's allowed to do. The multiverse is a collection of entirely different ways of seeing, and every single one of them is making a point. Start with Hobie Brown, Spider-Punk, Earth 138, anti-capitalist, anti-fascist, built from 1970s London punk rock and patchwork collage. The challenge was immediate. Animate him at the same 24 frames per second as everything else, and the animation itself is saying he conforms. This is a character whose entire existence is built around refusing to conform to anything. The solution is called step sets. Head of character animation Alan Hawkins and his team built a system where different parts of Hobie's body run at completely different speeds simultaneously.
He's animated at 4s and 6s and 8s that separate him from every character.
His torso moves at 8 frames per second, his jacket at 6, his guitar at 4. So his jacket doesn't move in sync with his arms. His guitar has its own relationship with time. Different parts of the same character are always slightly out of step with each other. He literally breaks the physics of the environment he's in. Miles was clumsy because the math made him clumsy. Hobie is anarchic because his mathematics refuse to agree with each other. Every frame of Hobie is a disagreement with the frame before it. They made a film about a system that demands conformity, brought in the one character who physically cannot conform, and built new software to guarantee it. Pavithr's universe runs on specificity, Earth 50101. Pavithr Prabhakar's home, a city built from the collision of 1970s Indian Indrajal comics, Manhattan modernism, and ancient temple architecture. 45,000 buildings. To handle that environment, the team developed Kismet, a procedural drawing tool that controls ink outlines dynamically, extending them past object edges to give 3-dimensional geometry the quality of something hand-drawn. Every building in Mumbattan looks like someone sat down and sketched it. Indian animators at Sony Pictures Imageworks said the early version of Pavithr felt inauthentic, so production stopped.
We got an email from our Indian animators that explained how we were kind of off the mark.
A writer's room of Indian and Indian American writers, including comedian Hassan Minhaj and Pavithr's voice actor Karan Sony, rebuilt the character from scratch. The result is someone whose jokes could only have been written by people who actually know what they're talking about.
Auntie, I love chai tea.
What did you just say?
Tea chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream?
His rant about chai tea, pointing out it literally translates to tea, lands in a way the first version never could. They built it from the inside out. Earth 928, Nueva York was designed using the visual language of Sid Mead, the concept artist behind Blade Runner. Gleaming towers with pistons and flywheels in the foundations. The architecture is the ideology, brutalist, vertical, built to make you feel small. Miguel doesn't live in a city. He lives in a monument to institutional control. Heavy animation, no acrobatic joy, claws instead of web shooters. His design reads as the institution itself, the one that decided what Spider-Man has to be. Every visual choice in his world reinforces the same thing. This is what happens when you turn a system into a god. In part 1, Miles' spider sense started in purple and green, the Prowler's colors, Uncle Aaron's colors. The film used that to tell you, before Miles knew, that the person connected to him by blood was also the villain. When Miles committed to heroism, his spider sense shifted to red and blue. A cross puts Miles on Earth 42, a universe where he was never bitten, where the alternate Miles became the Prowler instead. His spider sense fires red and green at the same time. The visual system Part 1 built to track Miles' identity collides in a single frame, both versions of who he could have been in the same moment at once. The film never explains this. It doesn't have to. If you watched Part 1, your brain reads it before you consciously process it. That's where the movie leaves us. 2 films, 6 years. One question that still doesn't have an answer yet. This whole trilogy started because Sony got hacked. Because Amazing Spider-Man 2 underperformed, and a studio with nothing to lose handed a Spider-Man movie to the guys who made Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. The mandate was, if it ain't broke, break it. And out of that chaos came something nobody predicted. A franchise that uses animation to ask questions most live-action films are too scared to touch. Part 1 proved you could build an animation pipeline around a character's internal state. The wrongness in the software is the wrongness in the person. Part 2 used that to ask what happens when the system decides you were never supposed to exist in the first place. Every visual, every dimension, every frame rate, all of it an answer to that question. Gwen's world bleeding with grief. Hobie refusing to sync with time. Miguel's city built to crush you. The Spot filling his blank page with 60 years of resentment. The red and green spider sense colliding on Earth 42. The animation is the argument. Miles was told he was never supposed to exist. He chose to be Spider-Man anyway. That's the whole film. Everything else is just the proof. Beyond has one job: land that moment. Prove that 2 films of build-up, 2 films of every visual system pointing at the same truth, that it was worth it. That Miles choosing to exist was the right answer. After everything these 2 films built, I have no doubt it will. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe. Click the video on screen for another deep dive into animated movies. See you in the next one.